Hey, welcome back to another episode of Shoot the Shit, episode 12. I know it's been like a month since I actually did an episode. You know, it's been a lot. I've been dealing with myself, but you know, you already know what we got to talk about. We got to talk about the new Netflix special. I mean, the new network, Netflix 4-part miniseries, Whentheyseeus. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I started watching at 1 o'clock. I didn't finish watching that till 6. I didn't want to take a break from it. Now, here's the thing about it. If you don't know what it is, it was about the Central Park 5. It was about a group of young boys that were wrongfully convicted of a crime. But one of the things that made it crazy was the fact that there was no evidence to show that they should have been convicted. Not only that, they were 14, 15, and 16 years old. So, you know, but there were documentaries done by Sarah Burns. And, you know, it went more in reference to the case itself. It talked about the victims, but it didn't dive deep into what was going on with the victims. And what made the special good was that it actually, like, look, I ain't the crying type, but I ain't gonna lie, I shedded a tear. Now, oh yeah, let me just mention this. I got the do-rag on the head, or basically, as we were saying, Newark, it'd be like a white t-shirt, but this is a black t-shirt we put over the head, and you already knew what time it was. It was like, I'm out my grind. This was the tie. Put your white tee on with the black, wrap it up, you know, just a little makeup, or I should say the new wardrobe for the show. But anyway, but let me get back into it. So it was like, I've seen a lot of stuff. I watch a lot of documentaries. I watch a lot of shows that come on Netflix, but I'll be honest with you, this one right here, this shit touched me. Like for real, this shit touched me. It was good. It was deep. It showed you every aspect. It depends on where your mind was at. If you was just watching it just for the show and watching it just for what it was, I mean, it was still good. But if you watched it and broke shit down, like motherfuckers pleading, like how they were trying to make the boys plead to something, not realizing that's another thing in this justice system where they making you plead for shit, and sometimes you forced to plead for shit even though you know you innocent. Just the way, like, I think the title in itself, The Way They See Us, that means a lot. And, you know, people actually watched it, and, you know, we had conversation. I talked to people that was like, that couldn't happen to me. What I don't understand is why they actually admitted something they didn't do. Oh, that couldn't happen today. And that leads me to what I'm going to start with. I'm going to start with a case, right? I don't know if you guys recognize, like, 2016, there was another white female jogger that was raped and that was killed. And that happened over there by Howard Beach at the Spring Creek Park. That happened like August the 2nd, 2016. Now, the thing about that was, like, yeah, victim, you know, her name was Karinavetrano. Her family was well known. She was an Instagram model. Her father was a retired fire department. I think he was a chief or something. So, you know, he was he knew the police. Their family was well known at the end of the day. Now, that case went cold for like 6 months. Now, the victim, I mean, the one that they said did it, his name was Chanel Lewis. At the time, he was 20 years old. And if you watch and if you looked at anything about this case, he looked like he was slow, to be honest with you. Now, the thing is, when I first saw that case, and they had him arrested, brought him out, handcuffed with his hands behind his back, this dude looked like, I mean, anybody that was smart was like, yo, this dude looked like he don't know what the fuck is going on, right? Now, the thing is, it went cold. The case went cold for 6 months. What happened was somebody said, yeah, we seen this guy around here 6 months ago. Yay, that's still bullshit right there in itself, right? But the funny thing is, he went to trial. The trial happened. It was 13 hours of deliberation. They pled to a mistrial because it wasn't enough evidence to prove that he actually had anything to do with this. There was no prints, there was no blood markings on him, or anything of that sort. Like DNA evidence was nothing on her. Now remember, this guy is slow, right? So they sent him a trial. They did the trial again. Now they found him guilty, and he's serving life in jail. Now this just happened because it was done. The trial had began November 2018. It was declared a mistrial, and basically, right after that, they tried him again, and they just recently again gave him life in prison after there wasn't enough evidence to get him in the first place. Now, again, this sounds just like the Central Park thing. There was no evidence. They needed a victim. He fitted the case, and he actually admitted to doing it on a videotape, right? So this goes back to, again, when people say that, no, this can't happen today. Fuck yeah, it does. And it still is. We got a lot of people in the judicial system or in the jails that are innocent of fucking crimes. And then you got people that are actually in jail and they either pled at a lower sentence because you was threatening them with all this fucking time, or you could get life in prison, or you can do 2 or 3 years and then you can get out. So let's think about that. And then a lot of times people say it couldn't be me, but again, it could be. You gonna tell me I'm gonna take 10 years? Let's say, for example, I'm not saying I'm even about that. Now let's say, for example, you had sex with a girl. This girl automatically calls rape on you, even though you know it was consensual. But whatever happened, whatever, you probably said, like, you probably had sex with her and then played out that night or whatever. You probably was recording her. She didn't know that she feels some type of way, right? She go back and say, yo, this dude raped me, whatever, right? Now, you had sex with her, so of course semen is going to be there. Penetration, it will show that she was penetrated, and there's such thing called date rape, right? Now, you got to go in front of the judge, or you got to get a lawyer and everything of that sort. The lawyer's telling you, like, look, man, did you have sex with her? Yeah. But you have to prove that you did not rape this girl. So now you had a situation like with a dude, your lawyer telling you, like, look, man, it shows that you had sex with her, it shows that you penetrated her, she's saying this, and you got to prove that you didn't. She really came in upset. She's saying this because what innocent person would say that you just raped them for no reason, right? So now your lawyer's telling you, like, I don't think we're gonna possibly win this. Now, what I can do is get it you plead at a lesser charge, and you can get 2 years instead of the 10 years that you going to face if we don't win this case. Now you got to think to yourself, like, shit, I did have sex with her, I did do this, but I didn't rape her. No, fuck that. I'm gonna fight for my innocence, right? You fight for your innocence, there's nothing to prove. Now you go down for 10 years. Or you say to yourself, look, man, all the evidence is stacked up against me. You know what? Fuck that. I'm going to take that 1 year, or I'm going to take that 2 year, be the fuck out, may get out early on good behavior. But now you got to deal with the fact that, you know you're innocent, but you don't want to be in there for 10. So you rather take a 2, you be out early enough. But now you got to deal with that fucking, you register as a sex offender. You got to have a fucked up record. But think about this. Do I want to be in there for 10 years, or do I rather get the fuck out in 2? So you got a lot of those situations that happen, and the fucked up thing is, like, that's what you got a lot of going on in jail. They intimidate you to take these plea deals. So it's almost like, damn, now you are, but the whole thing about the plea deal, you have to say, I did it. You have to say that you are guilty. But they don't see the behind the scenes that they told you this, and what would the normal motherfucker do? So it's a scary situation, right? The judicial system. So I mean, for those who don't know, again, I'll say the names again for that, for the Karinavetrano case and the Chanel Lewis case of that, the victim and that rape. You guys should check that out. They got they have YouTube clippings. You just put those names in, they'll tell you everything about the case. And I mean, if you follow Facebook, depends on what you normally like to watch on Facebook, you'll see some of the clips and reference to that case. All right, but let's get into this episode. One thing I could say, there was a breakthrough star on that film. It was the dude by the name, what was his name? Let me see, because I know I wrote that down here, because you know I gotta get my notes right. Gerald Jerome, that guy, I think he played the role of Corey Wise. And I mean, you probably heard of the guy before because he was on an independent movie called Moonlight. Those who've seen it already, I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, I just know about this because I didn't want to watch Moonlight. It wasn't a subject matter that I cared to care about. But he did a hell of a job in this motherfucking role. Like, this dude, I said as a young boy, I'm definitely watching out for him. He is now one of my favorite actors. Now, just to let you guys know, the victims that was a part of the Central Five was Corey Wise, it was Kevin Richardson, Antron McCrae, Yusef Salam, and Raymond Santana. Now, I think what you have to realize is that what happened to those guys, to be 14, 15, and 16, for one, what happened with them, it shouldn't have happened. First of all, if you realize when it did happen, they had their face plastered. And it took 2 weeks for them to say that these guys were the culprits, that they vilified them. They went to their schools. They checked everybody, their faces with their newspaper. Now, 14, 15-year-olds their faces shouldn't even been shown in the paper, even though they weren't even considered guilty yet. But they were shown on the paper. Words. And you have to realize, even today, in reference to how we look at the news and everything like that, I would always say, like, the way it was described then and the way they describe it today is the same thing. A group of black teens. They're not called that. They're called a pack of black teens, which equates to animals. Animals hunt in packs. So therefore, wording is very important. What words you use. But it's to vilify. Just like today, we say thugs. You know what a thug means. A thug gonna mean a black teen. That's how they describe it. Or if you say the victim or the culprit of a crime, you may say, if you're talking about a black kid, you say a black male or something like that. Or, you know, the black assailant. But you'll never say the black kid. White kid is always going to be called a white kid. When he does a crime, it's going to be like, you know, there were things that was wrong in the family. Muslim man is, if they say terrorist, it's going to be a Muslim. I mean, words are the media has always done that. The things you say, it just teaches you to know how to vilify somebody, right? You know, but what made the show, the Netflix special, great was the fact that they dove deep into each person's life. And the last episode was really just all about Corey Wise, and because I think he was the one that did majority of the time because he was 16 at the time, and so therefore he had to actually go down for like 13 years. And all he had to say a lot of times when he went up for parole, I mean, in the movie, they made it seem like he'll go to parole over and over. And all he had to do was say that he was guilty and then he would have got released. But behind the scenes, Corey Wise actually said that he first went down for his parole hearing. And it was like the people on the board was like, you know what? I hope you're never going to get paroled. And I hope they gave you life, because they know they gave him like 13 years. But the parole board told him, you might as well never come back down here to ask to get parole, because I wish they would have gave you life. So the movie didn't show that, but he actually informed the people like behind the scenes that's actually what happened when he went to the parole board for his first time. So we already see that. But a lot of times when you like, I would say, like, if you haven't seen it, you got to look at. I think what makes it sad, the whole thing is it's sad because can you imagine, like, to go somewhere as a teen, as a kid, because I think during that time when they showed them all coming out of the precinct with their hands behind their back, black teens, the way that they were portrayed first, and the jogger, they emphasized the victim. And guess what? I don't think the victim's at fault because, like they said during the show, that the movie, she don't remember shit. So she couldn't testify against them. But the saddest part, I think one of the craziest things was the fact that, they show the victim and then not realizing that when you really think about this whole thing, there were 6 victims in this situation. The kids and the woman. And the crazy thing, it would never been called the Central Park 5. It would have been called the Central Park 4. Because again, Corey Wise, they did not want him. He said, hey, I gotta come with my friend because his mother will be mad. So when they took Yusef out, when his mother came down to take Yusef out, they didn't have a case. They needed somebody to help fix their story. So they took Corey because he was still sitting there, not knowing that his boy already left. They take him to help create the story that they needed to create the timeline and everything of that sort. So when it's all said and done, they made him a part of the rape on the basis that if he can sit there and say that, yeah, they did it. Now, here's the funny thing. Not really the funny thing. He got a lesser charge. He didn't get charged with rape or anything like that. He basically got charged because he was at the scene. And technically, being that he was 16, he had to do time in an adult facility. Now, I already know, like, to be honest with you, being that he's alive, there's certain things that he probably told, but she probably said, you know what, I'm not going to put that in there because you're still alive. You're a grown man now, and that don't need to be said. The bottom line is you was hurt. But you got to understand, one of the worst crimes you can go into jail for is being a pedophile and rape. So we kind of already, and you know, the funny thing, everybody thought these kids did it. And that's and one of the things that the actual person Yusef said. He said the crazy thing is what the Netflix special did. He never knew what was going on each one of the boys' sides. Now remember, these kids didn't know each other. The only people that knew each other was Yusef and Corey. But he didn't know the rest of them kids. So this is a story that each one of them were telling about what was going on in their life and everything of that sort. Now, I don't know if you guys know what PTSD is. That's usually something that a person deals with when they go through traumatic things in life. Usually they say that's usually people that come from the military. And they said, I know it was Antron McCray. He has 5 children now, right? And he said one of the things that he can't deal with, he said he is still so angry. He can't forgive anything. He can't really move on with his life. He said he has 5 children. And he said one of the scariest things is I don't want to let my children go outside. This is the effect that this lady, now the district attorney or the prosecutor at the time was Linda Fairstein, right? Now, she moved on with her life, became a bookseller, does children's books and everything of that sort. And I'm like, she was never going to say it. She apologizes. But what she caused to these young boys and that right now and these grown men was something that can't be forgiven. I mean, I hear people all the time say, yeah, I forgive you. I don't know if I'm that type of person. I don't think I could ever be that type of person. But you hold all that anger. And now, look, to be honest with you, to sit somewhere knowing that you didn't do something every day. I've been in situations where I had to spend damn near 8 hours in a jail cell. And I'm like, yo, this some bullshit. Some bullshit. So, can you imagine being somewhere for years knowing that you innocent and you telling everybody you innocent and nobody believe you and you guilty. And again, that's why I always said I've seen documentaries before, but something like this was deep. And what I did learn was, I don't know if it was the first documentary. Don't get me wrong, they got awarded $41 million and that was split up between the 5 of them. But remember, they still had to pay lawyers. They still had to do a lot of stuff. Their family went through things. Families members lost jobs and everything of that sort. So 41 by the time they paid the lawyers. Corey get a certain amount because Corey gets the most because he did more time. And at the same time, like 41 million split between 5 people, lawyers and everything. They probably took home like 3 or 2 million, right? Now, I don't know about y'all, but fuck 2 or 3 million, 5 million. I would not, if you told me, Cliff, you're gonna have to go to jail for 7 years for $3 million and you gotta be in there for rape and all. Nah, homie. Nah. Keep your 3 million. I don't want that. It ain't worth it. Not worth it. Not worth it. So at the end of the day, what the fuck was $3 million? Nothing. And as you can see right now, if you're on your social media, you're paying attention to news, there's so many people getting exonerated for all these fucking crimes, yo. But the funny thing is, it goes back to saying there was a documentary done about this in 2000, and I believe it was 2003. And it was talked about, everybody knew about it, but it didn't become this big thing. And that's one of the great things I like about social media, is the fact that they come out with a series on Netflix. Word of mouth is a beautiful thing. So it comes out on Netflix. Word of mouth is out there. But the word of mouth now is social media. So now we go on social media, talk about it. Then you start to find out who the characters and what these people are doing, like Linda Fairstein, which was, again, a district attorney. Then you find out about that person. You find out what she's doing. Then you block her books. Then you fight for this. You put her name out there. Signing petitions. You don't want people to sell the books. You don't want her to get awarded this thing. And if you look at what's going on with her now, again, I'll say Linda Fairstein. She's paying for it now. She's not going to pay for it like the kids was, but now her name is tarnished. Like she tarnished their names, her name is tarnished. And that's when social media is actually used the right way. That's when we are using it to take a stance against something. I think, again, this whole scenario, and like I said, it's been trending everywhere, and I knew I had to have a conversation about it. We should do that with a lot of things. There's so many untold stories of injustices that have happened in this country. But you know what? This right here shows you like how low this country has went and how we as colored men are treated in this country. And that's why I said the title itself is just like perfect. The way they see us. And that says a lot. Because through all the tragedies that happen, for all the cops killing black guys or people of color, they do it because it's the way they view us, is the way they see us. It's the way that when you see a black man, you take him as a threat. You take him as he must be up to something. So I'm validated to shoot first. Oh, I know if I shoot him, I'm going to find that he has a warrant. I've been arrested. Well, no, I actually was pulled over, and I knew they were looking for warrants, and I'm upset, and I was like, "You're not gonna find a warrant. I know you think we all got fucking warrants, or we owe child support, and we got a warrant for our arrest because we ain't even pay child." I'm like, nah, you ain't gonna get me on that. I do what the fuck I'm supposed to do. But I think what I took away again from the Netflix special was just to see that the director was Ava DuVernay. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, and she did a hell of a fucking job. And I just think it was definitely a Netflix special that everybody should see. And don't look. I'm not saying that everybody who's convicted of a rape, or if they're young or a teen or something like that, they didn't do it. What I'm saying is, I think the thing is with all people, all we say is just be fair. Fair. But do I believe that happens? No. I think we all got to pay the consequences, and then we realize later that, it was bullshit. And just to let you know, the person who actually did the crime was a Mateus Reyes, which he was the one who actually did it. And the irony behind it was that, and even in the film, and when you see Corey Wise actually talking about it, he was like, yeah, that was somebody that I actually argued with. And the funny thing, the saddest part is, if that guy did not have a change of heart, these men still would be carrying around that the guilt, or I should say, their records would still be that they were the ones who actually did it. But, I'm not saying that, that guy wasn't evil, but he did a good deed before he had to go down, because he was already locked down. He didn't have to say it, but he did. So, I would say that what this has shown me is that you got to take everything with a grain of salt. You got to hear everybody out. Not everybody is always guilty of the shit that they're going through. And I got a friend right now who I got to actually write a letter for, because I hate to say it. It's for the same thing. And this actually came close to home for me, because this is somebody that I knew for years, and the person, from what it looks like, is going to be going down for 10 years. You got to be careful out here. Sometimes we treat our freedom like it's owed to us, not realizing how fucking, our freedom is actually on a string, a thin line, a thin string that can be taken from us at any day or any moment. Keep your life straight. And for those who have kids, let them know, I don't give a fuck how much a cop may beat your son's ass or your daughter's ass. Don't have them write on nothing. Don't have them say they're guilty. Wait, no matter what, always make sure that you have your children back, that they know, regardless of whatever's going down, that my parents got my back. So right now I may be stuck in a situation, but I will never put myself in a worse situation. And I just said, this, to be honest with you, this really touched home for me. And for those who haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. I think if you watch this and you got a dry eye, you soulless, because that shit was deep. And again, like I said, I think what you should also do, actually check out the original documentary, which was called Central Park 5. And definitely check it out. But again, not to have a most depressing episode, but it was just, like I said, the episode, the show is called Shoot the Ish, so I'm gonna talk about whatever. Oh yeah, and before we end, I gotta talk about, even though I barely talk about sports, but if you saw the game last night, with Toronto and the Warriors, and the dude mushed the shit out of God damn, why am I forgetting his name? Well, if you already know about sports, you know what I'm talking about. It was a minority owner, not meaning minority as far as color, but a minority owner as far as like his stake in the Warriors. He pushed the basketball player while the basketball player fell into the stands, right? But remember, the basketball player didn't. Laurie, it was Laurie who fell into the stands, right? And he went into the stands, and then the minority owner was like, looked at him while he was still over there, not knowing, like, didn't even touch him. Then he just mushed him, right? And it was said some vile shit to him, right? And when you see it, it was like the dude pushed him, but went in protective mode, like, oh, I pushed him, yeah, I got him. But just trying to protect himself just in case the player was going to hit him back. And I'm like, when you watch the news media, everybody's saying, yo, that dude wouldn't have did that shit if he saw him in the street. And yeah, we already know that. So obviously it was a punk move. But find out that the dude is worth like $2.3 billion. And just as like within an hour ago, they said now that dude is going to be fined $500,000. He's going to be suspended for the whole year. Let me get this dude's name. Fuck it. Why not? I think they should actually get rid of him. People would say, well, why would you do all that? I was like, fuck that. He should know better. But Mike Laurie. NBA. Let me see if I can find out the guy's name. Okay. Warriors minority owner barred for a year after shoving Toronto's Kyle Lowry. NBA bans investor Mark Stevens 1 year fines him $500,000 for shoving Kyle Lowry. The Warriors venture bro co-owner who shoved Kyle Lowry is everything wrong with America's billionaires, which I think he should be, and I think the Warriors should actually sell his share into the company to somebody else, because that just goes again, when you got money, you think you can do what the fuck you want, but you put in your head. But we already know. See, I like the fact that the Warriors actually did stand up and talk. I mean, banned them for the whole year, because at first they was talking like, oh, they was only gonna ban for the rest of finals. Like, fuck out of here, because the difference is if Mike Laurie defended himself and hit his ass back, who would have lost more? Mike Laurie, right? So I'm glad they actually did that. But again, he handled himself like a real man, and he still knew he had a purpose, so he really didn't do it. So I just want to touch on that for those who probably didn't even know or even don't care about basketball. But those who do care about basketball, that was the update on that. And again, thank you. I mean, to be honest with you, I thank you for all those who continuously watch the show. I'm sorry. I am not going to lie. I haven't been consistent. I mean, when I first started, I was consistent every week, everything like that. But, for those who still continue to watch the show, I definitely appreciate it. And, always leave your comments to make me better. I wanted to do a short episode, but I knew this meant too much to me, because especially when I talk about shit like this, I'm always talk long. I'm long-winded. But again, thank you again for tuning into the show. Keep subscribing, share the page. I would definitely appreciate it. And I'm coming back to you. I think that, I promise you guys, the next episode I gotta have a guest, because I want to do a long episode. I want to go back to the days of me doing an hour and a half show. But I gotta have a guest, all right? And again, thank you again for tuning in to Shoot the Ish.